Alright, late October it is. Week till Halloween. I'll be working, but I might still get a costume. But yeah, fucking Trump era. As of right now, the east wing of the White House is being demolished. God, it's almost like an afterburner story. Oh yeah, by the way, Trump ordered the White House to be demolished, the east wing. I got the tour it once. Pretty cool old building. I don't understand why it's not a historical landmark. Some guy wants to tear it down. Yes, he's currently the president, but like, how does he just have that discretion to just decide to demolish it and then to build a fucking monstrosity in his image just because? I mean, this is the shit that third world countries do, dictators and shit. It's just fucked up. Destroy government buildings and then build one in honor of the supreme leader. But yeah, that's just a side story. That's just kind of like a, oh yeah, by the way, that this is another thing that's going on. While the government's shut down, they have the resources to tear the White House down. Like the metaphor is this is like while the government's shut down, it's also being torn down. Like literally being demolished, the White House being destroyed. And not in a historical, let's preserve this building that's been around forever and is kind of giant historical significance. No, we're just gonna kind of like tear it down willy nilly. Jesus, did they take all the stuff out first? I hope all the historical art. God, fuck. It's so fucked up. It just I don't. How does MAGA support that? I don't get it. He's gonna tear the East Wing down to build a crystal ballroom, a gold ballroom that'll be empty most of the time. It'll as soon as the new president is sworn, that if that stupid thing is built, it'll have to be repurposed. That's like the first order of business. All the business that was conducted in the East Wing, it's not going to be now conducted in a fucking ballroom. Like, it's so stupid. It's just so stupid. Why do people accept such futility? An abysmally corrupt, incompetent businessman becomes a game show host, and then somehow, some way, by becoming the star of that show that was, designed for him, was created for him, he like becomes this political machine. It's just insane. When I was a kid, that man, Donald John Trump, was a famous confidence man. Yeah. He was famous for bankrupting companies, cheating on his wives, saying racist and sexist things in public, and being corrupt and incompetent. And he leaned into it. He also was an advocate for kind of an complete antithesis to the teachings of Jesus. I was a good little Christian boy as a kid, follow the teachings of Jesus. So, no, I'm not a Trump supporter, never have been, never will be, because he's clearly and obviously advocating something very different. In fact, completely inverted. And an unapologetic ask no forgiveness for it kind of thing. But some of his strongest supporters are people that go to church every Sunday and are very loud and proud about their, you know, righteousness. Uh, but he's not of Jesus in any way, shape, or form. If you have even a cursory knowledge of the Bible, specifically the New Testaments, according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, then you will know and understand that. You can even be an atheist and just read the Gospels according to yourself and formulate your own opinion of who Jesus was or whatever his message was to you. It does not correlate with the message of Trump. It doesn't. Trump is the opposite. He's the very thing that Jesus is speaking out against. What would Jesus do was a common slogan when I was late teens, still kind of in the thing, but kind of struggling to find my role, because it's not look to my left and right and see how they're doing it and do it exactly as they do it. That's not who I am. I had a friend back in the day though who was that way. You'd kind of look, oh, that's how you do it. Oh, you kind of close your eyes and raise your hand like this. Okay, I don't feel it that way, so I'm not going to pretend to. But yeah, some folks are willing to just go through any kind of motion they need to be accepted by the group. And yeah, I don't, no, I'm not really interested in that. And it's just, yeah, I'm not super duper religious, but I don't follow the teaching of Jesus. So people using, like, in some sort of roundabout way, the teachings of Jesus to kind of excuse the worst of human behavior. You know, Donald Trump is kind of the embodiment of it. So people kind of live vicariously through him in a way or something. He does all the things you're not supposed to do, and he's unabashed about it and unapologetic about it. That's just no forgiveness for it. And the people that are, many of those who are most proudly adoring the man, call themselves evangelical Christians. Man, devil takes many forms. And yeah, devil fooled some people. Many a folk. I'm no straight-edge saint, but good gosh, I know that Trump's the other guy, you know. I didn't need to be told that as a child when I first became aware of him. I knew he was bad in the simplest way of describing him. I believe he identified as Democrat at the time, or there might have even been kind of political affiliations. He was never taken seriously, because he's a famously incompetent, corrupt businessman, a celebrity, a tabloid celebrity, D-list celebrity. But this is all prior to the age of internet, so you either knew him or you didn't. He was kind of a love him or hate him guy, or just you're just completely unaware somehow, I guess, because he was kind of tabloidy and D-list. He was not an A-list celebrity by any stretch, but he had a cameo in Home Alone 2. He was a freaking guest at the Howard Stern show. So he had a certain level of notoriety. That word doesn't have as much significance in the modern era, notoriety. It's more just fame. And if you had a lot of wealth, it's like that can excuse an abundance of character flaws. And so he was kind of the poster child for the different set of rules that apply to the wealthy white folk in this country that apply to everyone else. He could be epically bad at business, famously bad, like time and time again, but it doesn't really matter. He's able to maintain his life of affluence, and some of his entities can even be run corruptly, and this is all kind of public domain knowledge, but it's in order to convict someone of white collar crime, it's very difficult, really dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And he has like layers and layers of insulation and company owning this company that owns that company that owns this company. Most of his companies are just shells, fronts for various illicit activity going behind the scenes. Books have been written about it, but he did become a game show host. The game show was called The Apprentice. The title of the show, The Apprentice, being a wink and a nod to who he is, a very famous devil's apprentice. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what he is. I don't really, I mean, I get that he doesn't have a pitchfork and horns or 666 tattooed on his forehead or something like that, but it's, for me, as a kid that grew up going to Sunday school, learning about teachings of Jesus and stuff, Trump is that obvious, like into the word, between the words, most of the words and his actions throughout his last several decades. Yeah, it's crystal clear who he is and what he's about and what he's offering or whatever. He's making all kinds of offers, but what he delivers on is chaos, death, destruction. Like, and there's no abundant winner take collective win or anything like that. No, it's just whatever makes him feel good on that day. He's a sociopath. A book was written about it called The Dangerous Case of Donald John Trump. Yeah. So he tends to bring out the worst in people because in order to, show your fealty to the man, you have to abide by what he is. And the thing is, though, he's a born wealthy white man, so that there is a different set of rules. If you try to behave too closely to him as a working class person, you'll most likely end up dead or institutionalized in some form or another. It's more than just burning bridges. It's corrupt, blatantly criminal behavior. But if you don't have enough insulation of risk, shielding you from the actual activity, like a certain business that's actually doing the things, but in a team of lawyers, it's going to be difficult for you to stay out of trouble if you mimic his behavior too much. He is a corrupt businessman. However, he's also very wealthy, so he can afford really good lawyers that he, a lot of times doesn't even pay for. Yeah, he's just corrupt through and through, and now he's very old and has dementia and just needs to be, put in a home for the elderly. But I don't see it happening anytime soon. And then it still leaves us with a whole mess of J.D. Vance and Mike Johnson. But it's not a real inspiring time. The government's still shut down because the Republican Party refuses to reopen it. They're scared there'll be information that comes out about their dear leader, Donald John Trump, a close associate of one Jeffrey Epstein, a child sex trafficker. Jeffrey Epstein was. Donald Trump was a close buddy of his, actually his closest buddy for several years. That in and of itself isn't a crime, being a close buddy of a guy that's a known sex trafficker. That became out later, but yeah, it's more like, Trump was probably more involved and probably pretty heavily in whether he has the Epstein connection or not. He was already a rape, and the walking in on the Miss Teen American pageants, teen girls while they're changing, he used to do it, and he bragged about it even. Or that's something you get to do because you own the pageant. No, it's not. He's just a weird, creepy, fucked up guy who became very famous and then used the fame to have a following of people that adore the man. And he's destroying the country because he has a legion of followers, not that are in government now, many of them. So it's scary, It's an upside down world. So I'm taking it one day at a time, and hopefully we'll get out of this peacefully and quickly. But it's gonna be a long grind. Onward and upward, peaceful and quickly. Peaceful and quickly. Amen.